Hello, I'm Derek Smalls, and you're watching, or listening, or both, to Rock Shop Live with Eric Broadbent. He's the Bent Broad.
You're watching Rock Shop Live, brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Microphones for Rock Shop Live are provided by Rode Microphones. Now, for Music Gear Network, here's your host, guitarist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, welcome to Stream-a-Palooza. Special guest today. Just kidding. Everyone is live streaming. We thought we'd do our part as well too. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Rock Shop Live. And we saw this familiar face just probably about 2 or 3 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago, over on her own Facebook page, guitarist Jennifer Batten. Nice to have you back. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day for an apocalypse.
It is, isn't it?
Very sunny in Portland, which is very welcome. It's uplifting.
For us here, as I was telling you during your live stream, which was awesome, by the way, it's kind of doomy and gloomy today, rainy, and I almost felt like having a nap this afternoon. And my better half here, Sandra, I think she actually took advantage of that and did have a nap. But, you know, too many things to do, so I'm going to keep the momentum going. And we got to sit down and enjoy some people from all around the world catching your stream. We had some good viewership today, which was fun. And we're going to talk about that this afternoon in this short little get-together, you know, how a lot of us musicians and creative people are having to adapt. You know, we're kind of forced to be home, and, you know, those bills still come in. They got to be paid. And it's not like you can trade signed Jennifer Batten CDs and that to the electric company and places like that. So,
yeah, I wish.
I know, right? It's some 8x10s and a couple jerseys and things like that, and get you a few months. But the creative ways that we can do these things to continue it on, and we will explore that today. But tell us a little bit about, first of all, I think it was a while back you did a tour with a couple of our previous guests and some friends of yours, mutual friends, with Gretchen Menn and Nilly Broche on a tour. Now, did you just finish up that tour before all this kind of shit hit the fan, so to speak? Or were you going back on another tour before all the plug got pulled?
I toured with those girls last October.
Okay.
October, November, I think. So that was well before the disaster struck. But I'm supposed to be in England right now.
Right.
I had a tour. In fact, I was supposed to do the Frankfurt show. I was going to come back and only be back home for a week, and then I was going to go over and do a 3 or 4 week tour with a Jackson tribute show in the UK. I've been playing with for 4 years maybe now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the money that was going to get me through till summer, and gone.
That's a rude awakening. That's the thing too. Like, a lot of people have these misconceptions. You know, it has. I mean, at one time, you know, I don't even know when the time may be, but maybe back in the Michael Jackson days or somewhere in that neighborhood. You know, these tours. I mean, you could do a tour, and you could bank some of that money for quite some time, and no problem at all. But nowadays, you know, the album sales are next to nil. And even in a case like yourself, putting out records, there's probably more streaming than there is purchasing. There's no merchandise sales for the most part at a show because there's no shows. So people just have this misconception that life is great for the musician, you know, and it really, I mean, maybe you're in a better place than some of us, but still, it's not easy, is it?
It's not. It really depends what level you're at. I mean, when you're at the Madonna level or Brad Paisley, I'm sure they got some bank stashed away and stuff is coming in all the time. But at the level I've been at for, gosh, I don't know how long it's been. But, you know, I'll get a tour here and a tour there, but it's not ever a steady income. Like, you can rely on X amount of dollars a year. So it's just piecing things together. You know, generally if I get a call that, hey, we want you in Germany, and I go, well, if you want me to fly over for one show, it's really going to cost you. So if you can hook up some clinics or hook up some more things, and then I'll put the word out to people I know to try to make it a more worthwhile trip. Then I string some things together and I can stay out for a month or 6 weeks. But honestly, the last couple of years, I've been trying to trim down touring anyway.
Yeah.
And so glass half full, it's kind of a good thing to have this sabbatical to really get online and start putting content every day on YouTube and start working more content for lessons and all that kind of stuff. So I might I'm kind of scatterbrained because there's so many opportunities in different areas, but it's like starting a new business. So being able to make a living off of it, it's going to take a minute.
That's right. Learning the whole model again and starting all over. Whether, let's say one day you're selling food at a restaurant, next thing, okay, well, the restaurant folded, so now I've got to open up a crafts store, and you're learning that whole new thing again. It's, I'm using examples here, but same idea. You're kind of on a treadmill. Okay, I finally catch up. Just like, you and I talked about broadcasting, getting the quality out there. And, just that portion alone takes time before you can even start saying, okay, now I'm happy. Now let's have some fun and make some money at the same time too. It's never ending. And we don't really we have time on our side, but at the same time we don't, because everybody is doing it. You want to get out there, and when you're trying to solicit a little bit, you want to give the people the best that they can have. And it's a never ending battle.
Yeah, plus the platforms that are out there like YouTube, they keep changing the bar. Where a couple of years ago I was able to monetize stuff, and now you need 4,000 hours of people watching your stuff before you're able to monetize. And I've got I've been very sporadic about putting videos up, so people don't keep coming back because they expect something new.
Right.
That's all changing right now.
Sure.
But I got 1,500 subscribers, and that's enough subscribers, but not hours per year watched. So hopefully I'll bump that up in a hurry.
I hope so. I think you're doing really well. We'll talk about the Riff Kitchen, what's cooking in the kitchen, both proverbially, maybe some food and some riffs. We'll talk about that as well too, because I think a lot of us are looking for ideas. And enjoying every meal right now. Not that it's our last by any means. I don't mean to sound doom and gloom, but I think we're all appreciating that nice warm plate every day. And, we're always looking for ideas as well too. But let's go over and say hi to a bunch of people real quickly as well too.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll see if there's any questions, and we'll come back as well. So over in the chat, Scott Roos from Nova Scotia. Sunny, he's got some sun out there in Nova Scotia, Canada. Never Too Late, my good friend Larry. Butterfly and Ladybug Show, it's my beautiful better half, Sandra Lee. David Bowman is here, Bucket Full of Balls. Pencil Pandemic, okay, that's cool. Adam Roach is here, says good morning to everyone from, it's tomorrow, Melbourne, Australia. And I know you and I were indirectly working on his Journey cover, and unfortunately I think his deadline was about one day before you sent him the stuff, so he was so bummed he couldn't use your stuff.
Yeah,
but
well,
I think he's got something
that's because I'm following Yogananda Procrastinanda. But he said he's going to do another version of it, so it won't go to waste.
I tell you one thing, I don't want to sound rude here, but I'm glad that you didn't in this case, because I would have been up against you and Phoenix. I'm sure you know Phoenix, guitar player from over in Brazil. Phenomenal. So I mean, I just did this little tapping thing, and if it would have been you and her in the video, I would have said, Adam, can you please remove me? I don't have a chance here. So I know it'll be good next one. Let me see here. Six String Brian, my good friend here from Canada, Brian Cote. Average Joe 44 is here. Music Therapy Laz is here. Did I say Average Joe? Yes, I did. Let me see here. Jennifer's awesome. She's still using the blue guitar amp. Yeah, you're using that, aren't you?
I am. I have the first model that he put out, and he's gone to two more models since then. He has one that's designed for metal players, and then another one that's more versatile called the Mercury. And he's working on something now that's going to be phenomenal, because I also use his Blue Box, which is a IR speaker emulator, and you can choose from 16 different cabinets. Plus, you have a virtual speaker placement knob. Mm-hmm. And I just got rid of my mics, man. I just record direct with that. I take it on the road with me all the time. And there's been several places where you show up at the club and they go, "Oh, you need a speaker? We don't have one."
Yeah.
I go, "Well, how do you think the guitar is going to get to the audience?"
That's right. That's right.
So I got the speaker emulator, and it sounds great coming through the monitors, which they usually don't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm doing that, and I think he's going to combine that with his next amp and make it super versatile. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Well, I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Jay Palmer from over in the Brighton, UK? He does a lot of the Lynch licks and stuff like that. He's a really cool YouTuber as well, and he travels to NAMM a lot, and he's using the Blue rig as well too. And a lot of times that becomes his travel rig. But I know you've told me numerous times, if you can't fit your rig in a suitcase, then I'm not traveling.
Yeah. I've never even plugged into a Kemper, because I think at the time I looked at it, it was 10 or 12 pounds, and then you had to add effects to it, and I just can't do it. I mean, you got 50 pounds max to go across the UK, and I'd be over there for a month or 6 weeks, so clothes are a lot of weight. And I just couldn't add too much, you know. In fact, I use a plastic volume pedal, the Boss L50 or something,
Sure.
because it weighs 1 pound.
Yeah,
That's the only reason I use it. And then when you're traveling within Europe, you get less weight, so you get charged for excess luggage charges. And one trip I took over there, I spent $1,000 just for excess luggage, and that was stuff that was kosher to take within America. So yeah, it's got to be light.
I agree with that, and that's smart, because a lot of people may look at that like I personally would not want to use a plastic volume or expression pedal for my normal everyday use, but compared to a 4 pound, crybaby style, either wah pedal or expression pedal, all the major manufacturers that make them for 4 pounds. I mean, that's 2 more outfits, 3-4 more outfits,
right.
So many different things. So that's smart thinking. Very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the Helix Stomp came out, I lost my mind.
Good.
That's, what was it, 3 pounds for that. So I've got a 100-watt head in my carry-on, along with a couple laptops and a couple projectors for my multimedia show.
Mm-hmm.
And when Line 6 came out with the HX effects, I thought, great, that would be perfect to go with the blue guitar amp. And then before I knew it, the HX Stomp came out, 2.7 pounds, I think.
Okay.
I
have it. I've never weighed it.
The numbers of gear, but I remember how much they weigh. And I instantly decided I would be dedicated to that. And there are some sounds, I've been using the Digitech RP1000 for many years, and there's some sounds that I just cannot duplicate in that. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that it weighs what it weighs, I've been spending a lot of time programming it.
The Stomp was great for sure, and I have one back there as well. Like, you can't even see it, but it's hidden behind one of the guitars, and I don't even know the weight. But if I had to use that as my main rig, I mean, you're limited to 6 blocks, so you have to be creative. And with new software, I mean, you may not even know this as well too. We've got 2.9 coming out. We're at 2.82 right now in the firmware. 2.9 is coming out, and then the next major version is going to bring that 6 blocks to 9. So,
fantastic!
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Exciting. Tell me when?
Don't know. I know 2.9 is coming relatively soon, and the developers, the sound engineers and programmers at Line 6, they're all working from home, and they can still do this from home, which is good. So, I mean, this is not a fact. I've not given this information from Line 6. I'm only hypothesizing here. I'm going to say probably June or July. I think we could see 2.9. And there's going to be nice advantages on that alone. Some more amplifiers, some more effects, some cool stuff like that. But 3.0 coming with more blocks, that's going to be great. But I mean, you don't. I mean, when you have 9 blocks, you want 12. When you have 12, you want 24. So we just have to kind of discipline ourselves. But that's cool. And I know you've always been one to less is more for you, and I like that a lot. You're not one of the ones that just kind of goes overboard. And I mean, you could be that person that could play with a tube screamer and a delay pedal and sound. Well, you sound good with any of that stuff, but I know you like to keep it simple, because the more things you inject into the mix, you're relying on technology, and that sometimes can be a problem.
Yeah, and honestly, I hate pedals.
Yeah.
I've been with Digitech for well over 20 years, and so I got used to the multi-effects things, and just being able to hit one switch and get everything you need, where the delay is sorted out to match the tune that you're working with. I can't be bending down, changing dials.
No.
And then every new connection you have is a potential nightmare.
That's right.
That breaks. Especially when you travel, because the airlines don't care. They take your luggage and...
That's right. I know exactly. You're lucky to even get it when you get out the conveyor belt. So if it's there, okay, wow, we've done well this gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know one thing that's really cool. You may or may not be able to see it from behind me on the screen, because I'm using 2 different cameras here, but I'm using a really nice Gator rack case for my Helix rack. And I know you're a big fan and an artist with Gator. And I saw something that's so cool. As soon as I saw this, before I even know you're using it, I was like, oh, I know a person that would love this. then I find out that you're using it. The Gator multimedia stand for your LCD screens and stuff. Tell me about that.
It's the best. It's a TV stand called the Deluxe Quad Pod. So instead of a tripod, it's much more sturdy because it's got 4 legs, and it's got I keep saying hydraulic, pneumatic, like chairs, lift. So I got this big 55-inch TV I'm looking at right here. Had it up in the living room, actually. And, for a lot of times I have help, but sometimes if I do a solo show, it's just me. Mm-hmm. And I'm hauling this 55-inch TV and then trying to put it up on a stand and then trying to push the stand up. This does it automatically. You unleash one of the knobs and it goes.
Oh, that's cool. Some hydraulics.
And at the same time, I got this. I'll show you this awesome stool.
Okay.
They have a stool that's got a indentation that you can rest your guitar on.
Oh, I like that.
And then at the bottom, it's got a guitar stand. So when you sit down, you flip that out of the way. And it's got a back to it too, but lighter is better for even traveling locally.
Oh, for sure.
I don't put the back on it.
Well, hats off to the Gator team as well too, because they're really embracing. They're ahead of the curve. They're doing. Yes. They realize people are doing podcasting now. I mean, they got boom arms like my Rode mic boom arm here. They've got boom arms, that kind of stuff. They have stuff for multi-visual, audio-visual. Even have cases for the TVs as well too. So you want to bring your big TV, put it inside the Rode cases. So good stuff, and always embracing what's coming next.
Yeah, I love that about companies. I mean, Digitech used to be like that. They've kind of gone to hell since Samsung bought them out, and it's just such a small portion of their business now. Yeah. I think everybody jumped ship and went to Line 6. So
yeah,
sad to see that happen. But Line 6 has got a lot of innovation happening now. So hey, I'm over there.
It changed my life. I mean, I don't have a guitar amp anymore. I had a couple of people ask me, some people commenting on some of my old YouTube videos saying, Eric, can you give me the delay settings on your delay pedal for this particular video? I'm like, first of all, that was like a year and a half ago, and I don't have it. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, just, I don't know, tap your tempo, and if it fits with the song, you should be good. But yeah, I don't have any of that stuff anymore, and it's made me a better player because I don't have to focus on, I don't have to, first of all, I've never been the guy that could put a mic on a cabinet and get a good sound, maybe in a pinch. But, when that inspiration strikes, as any creative person knows, you don't have time to fiddle. When you either grab your iPhone and record like a little melody by singing into it or whatever, but you can't turn away the inspiration when it hits you.
Yeah, that's why I liked the Blue Box, because it's got the virtual mic placement knob.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I would have the speaker in another room and you go and move the mic just 2 millimeters that way, go back and forth. And by the time you like the sound, you're exhausted and you don't want to play. So,
I know.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more frustrating when, you finally, even if if you decide to go live, and I know you'll echo this statement later on too when we start talking about some of the technology. Okay, I'm going to do a improv live performance, and then something's not working with the technology, and then by time you almost get it right, you're like, you know what? Screw it. Now the fun's over, and just forget it. Let's go watch something on TV.
Yep, that's not how inspiration works, man. You got to get it when you get it.
I know.
That's why Jeff Beck's manager would tell people if he was doing a session or something, he was saying, hit record the first time through.
Sure.
Or you're going to miss some magic. Even though it seems like he's just warming up, there's going to be some gems in there that you do not want to miss. So, what? I mean, the whole idea of having 9 choices in the HX Stomp is great because I haven't used any of the IR stuff at all.
Okay.
Because I want it for other things.
Sure.
I want some reverb, delay, special effects. I always want the whammy pedal in there. I do a whole step down bend to emulate slide. So, and I'm dying to try that stuff out, but not yet.
No, that's good, and it will be here soon enough, and you'll be able to add that IR block for sure. A couple comments that are funneled to me as well too. Pencil Pandemic says, "I bought my HX Stomp because of this channel. Thank you very, very much." And Music Therapy Laz says, "Thanks to Eric, I have an HX Stomp as well too." Yeah, he won a stomp in our. We every year. This is our second year in a row. We do a 12 days of Rockmas. We give things away for 12 days leading up to Christmas, and a lot of manufacturers help us out. And if I remember correctly, he won one of these guys. Where is it? I have it here. My Line 6 wireless, a G10 wireless little guy. and they were out of stock. And thanks to the really, really cool staff at Line 6, they said, we don't have a wireless to give you, so how would you like a stomp? So I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. It's quite the upgrade for sure. Let's go over and say hi to a few more people in the chat as well, too. Gary Holt is here. Not Gary Holt from guitar. Well, he's a guitar player, but not that Gary Holt. Adam Roach says, I have another collaboration coming out soon featuring Jennifer and Eric and some Australian-based musicians. Awesome. That's cool to hear. Very, very nice. Okay, so I caught up with all the questions that way. So let's talk a little bit. Oh, we got a link for Gator cases as well, thanks to my beautiful better half, Sandra Lee. Very, very nice. Maz B's jumping in, says, missed a few minutes. What's going on? Just catching up. And here's something, too, for you folks. Jennifer's been on the channel here a few times, both on the Helix Hour and on our regular show. So if you're looking for a kind of a meat and potatoes interview today, this probably isn't your show, but this is just a fun conversation. We'll get into some fun stuff, but this is off the cuff today, just kind of bouncing some ideas back and forth with a friend. So I think you're going to have lots of fun with us, and we're only going to be about 60 minutes tops. We'll be wrapping up at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me see. Here comes a boom from Gary Holt. Griffin Guitar is here. Very, very nice. And Az says, I saw Jeff Beck in the late 90s in Phoenix with Jennifer. She's amazing. I've never seen Jeff Beck live. And I know you touched base on this earlier today on your live stream. Now, I don't know Jeff's discography like a diehard Jeff Beck fan was. No, I had older sisters in growing up that were always dated musicians, and Jeff Beck was always, forced upon me. But I still don't know his full discography. I recognize him. I know he's a hero. But tell me what it was like, and you shared this again earlier this afternoon, but tell our fans what it was like, wanting to meet Jeff and then eventually working with him and being respected by him greatly.
Yeah, I was a Beck fanatic from the first time I heard him on the radio, which was kind of unique, having instrumental stuff on the radio in the late 70s. And I really got into two records, Blow by Blow, which was his big Grammy winner. In fact, that was the biggest selling instrumental record until Kenny G came along decades later.
Oh, jeez.
Go figure.
I know, right?
Something not right about that.
No.
But I memorized that record and Wired. I could play all those solos. And, long before the internet, I would go to great lengths to try to find anything out about him. I remember hanging out in a offbeat record store, and they would get British magazines in, which was super exotic. And I would go through all the magazines looking for anything about Jeff. And I got a network of friends that way that had bootleg cassettes here and there. And so I went on the Bad Tour with Michael Jackson, and one of the keyboard players there had done some teching for Jan Hammer when he played with Jeff in the Wired era. And the guy told me he could hook me up with Jeff, and he never did. So the next tour that came along, the Dangerous Tour, that was my number one goal of the tour. I'm going to England. I know he's in the country. I will find him.
Yeah, England's real small. We'll find him, right? We'll look around. Do you know Jeff Beck? Is he here?
Actually, you know what? I didn't tell this in the other one, but I had heard that he used to go to this particular Indian restaurant in London. And I went there so many times looking for him, and he was not there. But after I met him and joined the band, we went there all the time. It was called The Standard. Okay. I'm only saying that because it doesn't exist anymore.
Now, did you become a big fan of Indian food just because of that? Because you had to probably sit and eat? Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, Indian food is so exotic. It's kind of like you don't know what to order.
Sure, I would never know.
For days. And so I found some favorites from eating with him. Anyway. So every show that we played on the Dangerous Tour, there was always Sony reps that would hang out afterwards, and Sony and Epic were under the same umbrella. And I would ask everybody, how do I get in touch with Jeff? How do I get him to a show? And eventually somebody came through with VIP tickets and got him into the show and gave him VIP parking tickets. And we had two opening acts go on, and then he pulls up in his it was a Corvette. That's his car of choice.
Okay.
He drives that thing like Batman. It's super scary. In fact, I remember the first time I drove in it with him. As long as there's 100 yards spare, he's going to be gunning it. And I thought, this is like being on a roller coaster. It's so scary. And I thought, if I'm going to die, what a cool way to go.
Going with Jeff Beck. Yeah, exactly. Here lies Jennifer Batten.
Died in a Corvette and went back at the wheel. Anyway, Michael canceled the show after 2 opening acts went on. It was Wembley Stadium with 80,000 people from all over the world and all their kids. And so everybody, including me, was devastated. So it turns out he got turned away at the gate because he showed up after, like right when the announcement happened. So he was turned away. So I called him up the next day and asked when I could meet him, or if I could meet him anyway. And the next day he invited me to one of the London studios that he was recording his rockabilly record at. So it was kind of funny, you know, all of a sudden you're meeting your hero and it's not somebody that you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know anything about him personally. I only knew his music and was really close to his music, but conversation was a little rough to try to keep things rolling. And luckily I had 2 friends with me that really helped keep things going.
Good.
And, you know, I got my autograph and went about my way and thought I'd never see him again, but it was super cool. And he called me a month or so later because I had given him a copy of my first CD, Above, Below, and Beyond, that had just come out, as well as a video of Flight of the Bumblebee that was just on rotation with MTV then. And, you know, made my connection.
Nice.
And a month or so later, he called me up and said, I finally listened to your record and let's do a record together. And I mean, the moment was so stunning. It was like, say that again 500 times.
Yeah.
And it was really joyous. But in true Beck form, he doesn't have any clocks in his house. He doesn't wear a watch. It was 5 years before it happened.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's one of those.
Several times in the meantime, but eventually he called me up and said, we got a tour of Italy, come over. And that was it, with 3 years and 2 records.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, if that was fast forward to somewhat today's time, you know, you'd be expecting, a reality TV camera crew coming around the corner and Ashton Kutcher saying, you've been punked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. And that kind of leads into a question as well, too. You know, you've discussed this on the show with us before, and we can only imagine what it'd be like. But Average Joe says, how much fun was it to having the massive job of playing with Michael Jackson? And I'll just preface that a little bit by saying, I remember when you come on the show before and you said, you know, now from going from a rig that you had, that, you know, your normal rig, you had basically a la carte. What does Jennifer need? You know, tell us a little bit about getting that gig and then how it changed, you know, your day-to-day life as a guitar player.
Yeah, I think the budget with Michael Jackson, whether it was wardrobe, on the Bad Tour, they spent $1 million on wardrobe for the performers. You know, that's just the baseline cost. Yeah. So, you know, he wanted the sounds that were on the record and whatever that took. Mm-hmm. So all of the keyboard players had racks of modules that looked like NASA. They had programmers that were working while we were rehearsing, and then they would continue to work after we went home. Crazy. So I got carte blanche, and I ended up with, I mean, that's when racks were really big. Mm-hmm. Everybody had a rack, right? But most of those people had cartage, so they didn't have to haul them around. And I ended up with this giant rack. I mean, that was back before multi-effects. So I had one rack unit, a double rack unit was just for delay. Yeah. I had another one for reverb, another one for chorus. Then I had pedals for envelope filter, maybe a wah, and then a Bradshaw system, one of the early Bradshaw systems. That was a nightmare. I mean, that was so early that you could bank up, but you couldn't bank down.
Oh, geez. You have to cycle all the way through again, right? Practically.
You're in bank 20 and you want to go back to 10, you click, 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 all the way back around. Yeah. That sucked. Well, you know what? It was really disappointing in the beginning because I had all this stuff, plugged it in, ready to go, and it sounded like crap. Because, I mean, every piece of gear had a manual.
Oh, geez. And
I was just so stressed out trying to get the music down and the moves and all this other stuff. To read a manual on top of it it took a minute to dial it in. And at that time, I can't remember what amp I had before that, but the other guitar player, John Clark, was really into boogies. And so he said, you should get one of these. And I ended up with 2 of them, actually, because at that time, I don't know why I didn't just have a switcher, but I had one that was set up for clean and another one set up for dirty sound. I guess maybe to have a backup, really. And then a Strategy 400 power amp. And that thing took like 4 guys to lift onto the stage.
I bet.
I mean, just the power amp was ridiculous. I think it was at least 80 pounds, just crazy. But for most of that stuff, it was pretty basic sounds.
Yep.
I mean, I did need an envelope filter for some of the stuff. Most of it was just clean comping parts, maybe with the chorus and reverb, but it didn't get too crazy with multiple effects for the most part. And then, when I did stuff like Dirty Diana or Beat It, it was just max out the gain on the Dirty Strategy 400, or the Dirty, what was it, Boogie Mark II at the time, I think. And then maybe some delay, and that was it.
It's really funny too. You talk about like the clean compressed chorus, and that's something that I like. I mean, I love '80s. If I was to take a DeLorean and go somewhere, and I got stuck in a time frame, the '80s would be where I'd want to be. And from what I've heard from both you and when Orianthe was on the show on Friday, as much as I think Michael looked up to you guys for to be able to shred like no tomorrow, really enjoyed the funky rhythms. And that clean compressed tone was really, really special back in that. I mean, people may argue that, but I love that clean compressed 80s tone. Are you still a fan of that?
Oh, yeah. The first tour I was with John Clark, who had great tone. The second tour and third tour was David Williams. And he was the guy that was on all the records. He's the guy when you're hearing that octave bang, on Billie Jean.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to play on stage with him because he was a beast with the right hand. He would saw through picks. He would go through 3 or 4 picks in a night.
Wow.
And for me, I just couldn't put that kind of pressure on it. It'd be too hard on my hands. But he got that sound that was so good and so funky. And it's funny because I'm known for doing the Beat It solo, but that was 16 bars of a 2.5-hour show.
Yeah.
So,
there's
99%
a lot of other stuff.
of the show was about playing parts and being supportive that way.
Mm-hmm. No, very well said. David Bowman says he attended a Batten clinic in the 80s at Moody Music in Garden Grove, California. It was super inspiring, and she was a phenomenal teacher. Just sense the joy that playing the guitar brought to her. So that's nice when you can convey that through, just doing clinics and inspire people and, smiling and, really enjoying it. But very, very cool. Way back in the day.
That word inspiration, I think means more than anything to any creative person because you know what it feels like to get it. And I've had, usually people, if they think you suck, they don't come back to you after the show and say, hey, you suck. But, the compliments, it sounded good or whatever. When somebody comes back and says, you inspired me, or that was a real inspiration, I go, hey, nailed it. Because that means I connected with somebody and I'm doing something right. And I'm very empathetic to that feeling because that's what I want when I go to a show.
I know.
And when I when I go to a show and make the effort to do that and drive and pay, and I don't get that, it pisses me off.
I agree.
It's like the band didn't give it.
I know. Yeah, and you were ripped off. Tell me if you agree with this. Once this day comes back around, and I'm sure it's going to be sooner than later, you get to go back and enjoy concerts, your concerts, everyone's concerts. And Buddy calls you up on a Friday night and says, Jennifer, I got an extra ticket for so-and-so, and it's out of your comfort zone, out of your wheelhouse. You don't even, let's say it's country and you don't like country. I think it's mandatory that you take them up on the offer and go check out a concert from a band that you have never, ever embraced before, because inspiration there, like you say, sometimes can come out of the craziest places. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. It can come out of the craziest places. Some of the baddest players in the world are in genres that are really out there. Like, I think one of the ultimate instruments on planet Earth is the Irish pipes.
Okay.
You think of Scottish pipes and it's like this drony ass stuff that's not my thing. But the Irish pipes, the way they bend into notes is so superior to what guitar can do. I find supreme inspiration in that. But as far as getting tickets to a random show, I would definitely check them up on YouTube first.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You never know. Yeah.
Because if I go out and I don't like it, it's like, what a waste of my time. And I think it's natural for people throughout the years to get a little bit jaded. if it's, I remember a friend called me up, and actually it was the guy that started the Musicians Institute
Okay.
when it was just the guitar school.
Yep.
And he and his wife got in an RV and went about the country looking up old students and friends and stuff. And he invited me to take a drive. It would have been about an hour drive to go see some local player. And I went on YouTube and I go,
no, not for me.
Sorry, I'd love to have dinner, but I'm not going to put myself in that.
Yeah, I think there's exceptions to the rule for sure. I mean, myself, I've never embraced country music that much. I have mad respect for it, but I also many times shut the door, had a closed mind to a lot of pop music. And thanks to my son, who's now 14, he's introduced me to like probably 3, 4, 5 different pop artists that, whether you like the act itself, that's one thing, but the songwriting doesn't lie. And you listen to that song, you're like, okay, well, I can't lie. That's a damn good song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it just made me think of Jeff Beck. People say, what did you get from working with him? And one of the things was how much of an open mind he has to listen to everything. I mean, he will listen to Ornette Coleman and the Spice Girls in the same hour, because he can glean something from everything, whether it's a sound, it's, the way it's produced or something like that. And I think that kind of sensitivity is what makes him such a great player. I've heard him. God, I wish I had the smartphone back then, but it was before smartphones. I would have been videoing all the time, which would have pissed him off.
Sure.
But he did an imitation of Keith Richards one time.
Okay.
And he did the whole shoulder thing and played a Stone song. And if you were blindfolded, it was Keith.
Wow.
I mean, Jeff has such an original sound, but he's so sensitive to pick up the nuances of everything he listened to.
Yeah.
Like back in the day when he was growing up, they would get a really crap signal on the radio, like late Sunday nights. They'd have Blues Hour or something, and they'd all be next to the radio, and it would be cutting in and out. Just and those guys at that era just glommed onto that stuff. And to hear him play that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, you really studied that. Not necessarily transcribing or writing out every note, but to get the meaning of it at the base level was great, really enlightening.
Well, here's something. This is going to sound really funny because you and I were talking just before off the air because we have Derek Smalls from Spinal Tap introduce the show. I'm a major Spinal Tap fan, and I may have read this. I don't know. I'm just here again hypothesizing. But wasn't Nigel Tufnell's character a lot based off of Jeff Beck?
Yeah, it was. I didn't really realize that in the beginning, but Jeff told a great story. He said when he first met Christopher Guest, the first thing he did was to reach into his pocket and give him all his change. It's like, I owe you.
That's hilarious. Because you could see it, the facial expressions, kind of the hair at the time, of course, all the Les Pauls and, Jeff played everything, but still, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I had a pretty wild night. There was a lot of wild nights with Jeff. I mean, he's, he knows so many famous people. I ended up in Ronnie Wood's house one night down in his studio listening to the box set of Little Richard. It's one of those things that will happen once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
I would never buy the box set on my own, but in that setting, it was super magical.
Sure.
But one night, the guys, Michael McKeon and Christopher Guest, did what was it called? Mighty Like the Wind.
Oh,
the Mighty Wind.
Yeah.
I think that was it. It was after Best in Show.
Yep.
And they were doing a premiere of it in London. So we got to go to that. And it was so cool. And we had dinner with them after. And one thing that was really cool about it is they did a Q&A afterwards. And they were talking about how Christopher doesn't have a script. He just hires people that can improvise.
Sure.
And so he will record 300 hours of people improving and cut it down into 90 minutes. And that's how he makes his movies.
That's incredible.
Really fascinating.
When Harry Shearer was on the show, well, I didn't know if I was going to get him as Harry or as Christopher, or as Derek Smalls, right? So I didn't know who I was getting. So I got him as Derek, and I had to kind of change my script to interviewing a fictitious person. And one thing about him, he never ever, none of those guys actually will. Michael McKeon or Christopher Guest, they won't break character when they're in the Spinal Tap characters. And I wanted to kind of break that wall at one point in the show, and I said to Derek was saying that his dad, one of the jobs he used to work at back in the day, he was a phone sanitizer. Okay, so he would sanitize, sanitize phones. I said, well, that would be a great job today. And I said to him, I said, I know Derek Smalls is never going to, retire. I mean, you got a legacy ahead of you yet, but if you ever did, I mean, your voice is so profound. I said, if you ever wanted to, consider a career in voiceover entertainment, you might want to look into that. And he got a bit of a chuckle and almost broke character for a second. And it was it was fun to almost break him for a second, if that makes any sense. It was cool.
I got a Spinal Tap story for you.
Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
I played with them. I got to play with them once.
No way. Okay, I did not know this. Where?
It was. This story is super crazy. We were rehearsing for the Jackson tour. I think the Dangerous tour.
Okay.
And somebody said Nigel Tufnell's next door, and I go, great. I'm going to take my guitar over there and get an autograph. And so I went over, and they were both there. And while I was in there, they invited me to play the show they were playing at Universal Amphitheater.
Okay.
So I played the song "Break Like the Wind."
Oh.
And it was they had the drummer from the Bangles was on that, and Steve Lukather too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we were in rehearsals, and Michael wasn't showing up day after day. He wasn't showing up. We were going over the songs, blah, blah, blah. Eventually he would show up. Of course, the night that I'm not there, because I'm off playing with Spinal Tap on Michael Jackson's paycheck, he shows up and does a rehearsal. And his only comment was, "Where's Jennifer? Is she going to be here tomorrow?"
Oh, boy.
I mean, I could have got fired for that.
Sure.
Easily.
I know, right?
And they had one of the dancers kind of take my place during the Beat It solo and do air guitar.
Oh, okay.
That was a close call.
Oh, boy. But that's a funny story. I've never known that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I got some great pictures with Derek. It was great.
Oh,
yeah.
you could, please, if you have some, even if you have to scan them, send me them, because I love Derek Smalls for obvious reasons. The handlebar, the whole deal, right?
Right, sure.
Yeah, bit of a fan, so they say. Before I jump over to another fan question over here as well, too, I'm going to ask something shameless here for a second, just because it's a special day for us here in the house. Today is my stepdaughter, Lisa's birthday, 34th birthday. That's hence all the gray that you're seeing here. I'm wondering if we could get an incredible birthday shout out from the legendary Jennifer Batten for Lisa. Happy birthday to Lisa. Look at, you got it.
Wait, let me wind my nose up. Happy birthday to you, Lisa. Happy birthday to you, Lisa. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Best birthday wish ever. I absolutely love it. That is too funny. Thank you so much. She's gonna love it. We'll snip this down for her after for sure. So while we're about 15 minutes away from wrapping up, there's something that's really cooking for you, no pun intended. But the new Riff Kitchen, you've had several pieces and snippets from that. Tell us about Riff Kitchen and what you're offering, and maybe from there take it into other things that you're doing as far as lessons, Skype stuff, all kinds of tutorials and stuff like that as well too.
Yeah, well, I have put stuff up on YouTube over the years. I've had my channel going for quite a while, but I've never put stuff up on a regular basis. And I know that's really the only way to get more subscribers and get people watching all the time. And so I was thinking, I started doing tour vlogs where I'd be gone for a month or 6 weeks, and you end up with thousands of photos in your phone that will only end up on a hard drive somewhere you'll never see again. So I decided, since I make films anyway for my solo film show, that I would start putting these vlogs together. And it was really great because I would go through the memories of everything I had just been through and do the best of. And it was very, very time consuming just to end up with like a 10-minute vlog of a month of touring. And it was just so time consuming. I'm about 2 years behind. I just have not been keeping up. And so I kept thinking, okay, if I'm going to put up regular content, it just can't be that time consuming. It's just not going to happen. And I thought, okay, let's do a lick of the day. And then I was just talking out loud, trying to describe one of the licks on camera. And I said something about cooking, and I go, boom, it's a kitchen. It's the Riff Kitchen. So I got a logo in the works.
Catchy name.
Well, yeah, I mean, you cook up licks, right?
Yeah, what's cooking today?
I'm just coming up. I have a bunch of licks that I put on my phone. When I come up with something new, it's always on the recorder. And sometimes it just kicks my ass to get it going. Because you have to play it perfectly 100 times. Not 100 times, but like half a dozen times to get it recorded and be able to edit it and put it out there. And I discovered the other day, it's way more fun to just jam until something comes up that's fun, and then do that. And I've really had a good time with it. And then I work with a green screen so I can have anything behind me. And the first thing I saw was in outer space. So I thought, oh, we're all in quarantine, right? It's the best thing ever to self-isolate on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty safe.
It kind of works like the soaps. Like there's a story that's continuing, and now I splashed down in space, and now I'm over here in India. So God only knows where it's going to go. But it's kind of a different thing. And hopefully it'll get people to come back. And right now I got a lot of free time, so I'm looking to give lessons on Skype, and I'm even offering. Actually, Zoom is better because it's easier to record.
Okay.
I had a couple kids the other day, like 14-year-olds that were friends, that money was an issue. So I just said pay half and get a friend to pay the other half.
Oh, nice.
And that worked out really well, and they can both record it, and they can, I mean, I think it's great motivation for them to be able to share it, even though they're in separate houses, and talk about the lesson and share stuff.
Agreed. And that's one of the nice things now too. Like we can connect. Well, we're forced to connect if we want to see our friends and family and potential fans. So this is the only way we can do it for now. But a very good way to connect. And this is something I'm going to just talk about your guitar level from another colleague of yours. I've had him on the show a couple times over the years, past couple years. A former alum, Steve Lynch, from the School of Rock that you both subscribe to. And he had the best words to say about you. I mean, it was just from someone who's a great player himself, with the tapping technique and everything, and something very, very innovative. It's just nice to see others who you look up to and just like, wow, and they speak so highly of you. So, I mean, when it comes to people getting guitar lessons, you're certainly coming to one of the very best players in the world. And how can they reach out to you? Through the website or?
Yeah, that's the best way. JenniferBatten.com, Batten, and just click contact, and the mail comes to me. So I can sort you out that way, or I'll tell you the email address. It's a weird one. Mondo Congo, Mondo like the world or big, and Congo. I'm just really into African music, and it just came to me one day at earthlink.net.
I've had that email address for a few years, and I thought, I don't know where it came from. I'm not going to ask. That's Jennifer's email, so I'll send an email there. And the same as your Twitter handle as well, too, which we have down in the description as well, too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we've got your Twitter, we've got your Instagram, Facebook as well, too. But okay, so you're cooking some of these cool riffs in the kitchen, but what else? I love kind of getting ideas from people because we're home. We're trying to not necessarily ration food, but we're trying to get the most longevity out of food. What are some of the cool things that you look forward to in the kitchen, breakfast, lunch, and supper?
Well, I became a vegan maybe a year and a half ago.
Right.
And so almost every day I will steam vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower. I try to go for superfoods, and I'll start the morning with a green shake with, I'll get frozen organic berries or super antioxidant, blueberries, and maybe some papaya or something. And then I put in all these super powders. I discovered a fruit that comes from India called amla.
Okay, I don't know it.
You can't get in the grocery store, but you can get powder of it.
Okay.
So I put in a ton of powder, greens and spirulina, and mix it up into a shake and start the day with some super nutrients. And I usually go for one more main meal late afternoon. That's steamed vegetables, mushrooms are superfood.
Mm-hmm.
So I eat that a lot. And it either goes on top of brown rice or noodles or pasta that's made out of some wacky shit that's not normal pasta.
Like durum wheat. That's what Sandra has here.
No.
No? Okay. Something different?
I'm trying to think what it's made of. I mean, it all looks like pasta, so I can't remember what's on the box. But I think there's one that's made out of cauliflower.
Okay, interesting.
Oddball stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm going to be going that route very, very soon because my better half here, Sandra, she's just saying, my kind of lady in the chat, she had to switch. She was diagnosed with diabetic neuropathy a couple years back.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, and the neuropathy still kind of remains. She probably will never get past that. But the diabetes, she cured herself in about a year's time by switching to a whole food plant-based diet. And it's become very difficult because, you just don't go to the grocery store, your average grocery store, and say, I want this and this and this and this and this. You get this. It's like going to Guitar Center looking for a left-handed guitar, right? One's holding the door to receiving, and the other one's a green one on the wall. So you're limited to what you can get. But, and we won't go down this rabbit hole of these conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but you're seeing, these companies dumping milk and there all this other kind of stuff and farms being shut down, that kind of stuff. And I've gotten sick a lot over ground beef. I'm a meat eater myself. I mean, I love meat, and ground beef was making me sick every time I'd have it. And
wow.
Yeah. But if I'd go to a place like an A&W fast food place where they have no hormone meats and things like that, no problems. So long story short, I've cut out pork. My beef consumption is way down, and I'm only having chicken. And I think, didn't you say you still have chicken from time? Or no, fish, you said.
Yeah, I'll still do fish. So there's really no official term for that. It's a pesca vegan.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, and still with fish, I know it's got radiation from Fukushima.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of sources you can get protein, but I do like fish, and salmon is really good for you.
Yeah.
But even chicken, man, if you go for the no hormone, that's one thing. But the rest of them, it's horrendous what they do to them. They shoot them full of hormones.
I know.
And it'll make some chickens so big that they can't move and they will die in place.
Yeah, fall over.
Because they can't get to the feed.
Jeez, yeah, because you want that
It's
big...
just horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, I knew that for years. I read John Robbins' book years ago, Diet for a New America. And there's a part of your brain that jumps in the denial pile, right? And it's what they do in factory farming is just horrendous. The animals are treated horribly. It's not natural. They're not happy.
No.
And then you're eating that energy.
I know, right?
So I've really, really changed, lost a bunch of weight without trying.
Yeah.
But I will say I cut out sugar too.
Yeah.
At the same time. It's like, bam, done. Bullet to the head,
Yeah.
Instant change. And I don't miss meat. I really don't.
I will be there soon too as well. I can do it because I've used some of the plant substitute things like here in Canada. I think they have them in the States as well too, like the Beyond Meat burgers, and they are tasty. They taste like they have the burgers, the texture to them. I love them. They say there's a ton of estrogen in them. I don't know that to be a fact or not, but who knows? But I like it. And HK is asking in the chat. He's asking, they're asking, what is neuropathy? And so neuropathy, the way I can give a layman's description to it is like if you have a bad electricity in your home and one day you got a light bulb that comes on nice and bright, next day it's flickering and shorting out, next day it's burnt out. That's what neuropathy is like in your body. You get tingle in your fingers, sometimes no feeling in your toes. So it's not a pleasant thing. And you said earlier too, when you mentioned mushrooms, I know we're going off on a cooking tangent, but hey, we're all looking for ideas. And for people that are switching from a meat-based, heavily consumed diet, mushrooms for me give me that feeling of having meat. If I want to put it like in a stir fry, but mushrooms, it gives you that sense of meat and almost a bit of a taste to it.
Especially portobello.
Oh,
that's
damn
like
right.
Eating a steak right there.
It is. Yep, agreed 100%. Well, listen, we're going to wrap up in a second. I did not want to consume a lot of your time today for the sole fact that you've been working really hard today. I mean, just talking is work, and you've been doing some great shows today. So what's next? When's the next Riff Kitchen?
That cut out a second.
When's the next riff lick from the kitchen?
Yeah, it'll be every day during the lockdown at least. I mean, it is a lot of work. It's fun to just lay them out and record them, but then editing is time consuming. So definitely during the lockdown, and if I start traveling, we'll see after that. But you know what? I'm doing more content. I do DVDs for TrueFire.com, and I'm going to be doing. They kind of have a side platform that they launched last year. There's kind of like Patreon, where there's going to be 4 different levels of what you offer. And I started thinking last night. I was just going to turn the camera on and just talk about a subject, and I just didn't know how it would go, because sometimes when the red light fever, the words just come out backwards. Yeah. I went for 16 minutes straight, just bam, 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 because it was a subject I was interested in. So I'm just going to record as much content as I can stand during this time, and then offer it out to people.
Sure, that's a great idea, because people like dialogue that they would normally not get in a different environment. And I just want to say this real quick. Would your little pup like to say hi on the camera? Because we hear a little bit.
That little bastard. I didn't know if it was coming through
the
microphone.
Okay. No, it's okay, because we're dog lovers here. Can they hop on?
You know what? The closest one is the cat.
Okay, then we'll go for that.
Come here, Mitchell. The world wants to see you.
Oh, there we go.
Just a gorgeous cat. I got 2 cats and 2 dogs.
Nice.
Oh, now the dog is jealous.
Nice.
Hey, get out of my lunch, you bastard.
Very nice. Thank you. Well, listen, it's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. And again, it's just so nice to see that you're doing well, full of great positive energy, and sharing that with all of us. We really appreciate it. I appreciate the years of friendship. I mean, we just kind of crossed paths a couple of years ago doing these shows. And that's one of the nice things, technology puts us in places where sometimes that would never happen. And there's one other comment. HK says, tell Jennifer I love her. So that's from HK. There you go. Back at you.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
My pleasure. I'll say goodbye to you off the air. Everyone, be safe out there. We'll see you this Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific with drummer Brent Fitz from Slash and Gene Simmons and all those great acts. We'll be seeing you on Friday. And until then, be safe, stay indoors, don't go out unless you have to, and we'll see you then. Cheers.
Hey, you're still here? Eric Jr. here, reminding you to check out our full lineup of quality merch. Available right now in the Broadstash Boutique. Quality products and fast shipping. Visit broadstash.com today.
Video production services for Rock Shop Live are provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for Rock Shop Live are provided by Rode Microphones.